1, 2, 3, 4.
Screen time, screen time, screen time, screen time.
It's my screen time too. Hello, and welcome to It's My Screen Time Too, the podcast where two moms finally stay up late to watch SNL and realize they have no idea who any of the stars are. I am embarrassed to admit that I just had to look up Cardi B and John Mulaney.
Oh, well, you know what? Everybody else had to look up John Mulaney too, sadly.
Okay. I don't feel so bad.
He's a very funny guy, but not terribly famous.
I'm Deborah.
And I'm Katie.
And we have a very special guest this week, Amy Padden. Welcome, Amy.
Thanks.
Yay!
Hello.
So Amy and I go way back. We were freshman college roommates.
What?
Yeah.
And you still like each other?
Yeah. We still see each other once a month or more.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm so impressed.
Yeah.
Yeah. U of M did good on the luck of the draw.
Yeah.
Nice.
She's got two boys who are in elementary school, and she is publishing her first novel.
Congratulations.
Hoping to publish. Fingers crossed this weekend. Find the right agent.
That's awesome. Do you have like a general plot synopsis for us?
Yes, it takes place in the 1830s in Ireland, and Ina Fitzpatrick has to match her wiles against the British Empire and the Fae and save her village.
Oh, so it's like sort of historical fantasy?
Yes, magical realism is the technically fancy name.
Ah, yes. Sorry. I was not an English major. That is really exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you want to let us know a title so we can all run out and buy it when it comes out?
Oh, it's called A Short and Unhappy Courtship.
Put it on your Goodreads list, everybody. I don't know, Deborah. Do we even have to say how old our kids are? Mine is almost 3.
5, 5, and 8.
And
Amy, you could talk about how old your kids are.
Ben is 11 and Nick is 9.
This is the point in our podcast where we usually tell a quick and adorable or awful story about our children. Deborah, do you want to start?
Well, I have a podcast adjacent story because we're holding this janky microphone. And so I thought I would go buy a microphone that had an intact stand. So I took my twins to this Office Depot that is pretty close to my house. And it's like, I live in the city of Minneapolis, so I can either drive to a nearby suburb where all the shoppers are like moms in their 30s and 40s driving minivans, or I can go to a little bit closer of a strip mall, and it's just a more diverse crowd. Like, it's just a more urban experience. So I had my kids in there shopping for a microphone, and all of a sudden, like a dozen cops storm into the store.
Whoa.
Wearing bulletproof vests, some of them. And I was like in line to check out, and the lady in front of me was kind of like, what's going on? And I was like, do they have a shoplifter? And the cashier was like really chill about it. And she was like, nah, there's this guy that comes in all the time and does drugs in the bathroom, and we just got sick of it. A dozen police officers. And then they escorted him out, and our car was blocked in by the ambulance and like the 8 police cars in the parking lot. And then I had to have like a long conversation about street drugs with my kids and how you could get in trouble doing street drugs and need an ambulance. So that's been conversation fodder the whole week.
I bet. Now, is it wrong that the first question that came to my head was when you were sitting there waiting for your car to become unblocked, how many additional office supplies did you have to buy? Because your kids were like, I want that pink highlighter.
We went to the dollar store.
Okay. That's better.
And For the record, Office Depot on Nicollet Lake does not stock standalone microphones.
Oh.
Well, I shouldn't have started with you because your story was really good. Amy, maybe you should go next. Have your kids done anything particularly adorable this week?
A little bit. Yes, my children are always adorable. No, we were talking about, I don't know how Game of Thrones came up. And my younger son, the 9-year-old, was like, "Oh, that's the one with dragons?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Can I watch it?" I'm like, "No, it's pretty naughty." He goes, "As naughty as Jumanji?" I go, "Well, no, sweetie, a lot naughtier." He goes, "How is that possible? There were so many swear words in Jumanji." And I'm like, "Oh, well, this one had some violence and some nudity." And then they're like, "What's that?" I'm like, "Oh." So it was one of those parenting moments. So they are not thinking they're going to watch Game of Thrones. So we're good.
Well, you know what? If your kids are of a certain age and you like actually go into the fact that there's nudity, maybe they won't want to.
Yeah, they were both very much opposed to it. Yeah. Yeah. The whole cootie thing is still alive and strong in our house.
Oh, that's a relief.
Yeah. Yeah, we're good.
Well, I'm kind of stalling because I didn't write anything down. Not that Jay didn't do anything cute. I guess his latest thing is he kind of has an imaginary friend for the first time.
Oh, I love imaginary friends.
Yeah. And that imaginary friend is Batman. So
Oh, cute.
every time I go in to like get him in the morning or wake him up from his nap, he's like, "Batman was just standing here. We were talking."
Aww.
That's super cute.
But on the other hand, I will jump in a lake if I have to watch the Lego Batman movie again. Deborah, have there been any changes to your screen time policy?
No changes.
Yeah, ours is the same. Other than, constant Lego Batman. But Amy, tell us how you handle screen time in your house.
Yes.
Well, we are technically on a no screen on the weekdays. So just on the weekends, Saturdays and Sundays. And then they can earn 2 hours by doing their responsibilities, like practicing violin and doing homework, taking the dog for a walk. So that's our official policy. But my youngest doesn't wake up very well, and so I do sometimes bribe him with cartoons to finally get him out of bed. So then he can watch a little bit of cartoons, and then he gets moving in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this was a good pick, then, today's subject. But before we launch into it, we need to talk about Jumanji, because, Amy, have you seen it?
Yes, we did family movie night, and it made me wish I'd previewed it.
Oh, really?
There was so much swearing.
What is it rated?
Not high enough.
I didn't even check because we didn't watch it with Jay. But it was so good. Here's the thing. Okay, so I was randomly reading an article about The Rock's new movie Rampage and how terrible it is. And I think it was in Vulture. But the author was saying that The Rock is incredibly charismatic, but he's had 3 consecutive flops. And they mentioned Rampage, and before that Baywatch and Jumanji. And I just had to do a double take because I thought Jumanji was really good.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently I not only love Jack Black in School of Rock, but I also love him when embodying a teenage girl in Jumanji.
He did such a good job. He was so spot on.
Yep.
It was really funny.
Wow, I have to see this.
It's hard to like carve time in your schedule for a kids movie that you can't watch with your kids yet.
True, right.
It was really entertaining. But it did make me think of my perennial question, which is, did I love it because it was funny or because my taste has gotten worse since I became a mom? Which I feel like is something I ask in every episode.
I feel like every movie, like adult movie that I watch, I love so much. I was way more discerning before I got to watch a movie like every 2 months.
That's true. And like also every night out you have is like perfect. Doesn't matter what you do.
I don't know. I think I'm more picky now since I have less time. Like I give like something doesn't make in the first 3 minutes, I'm just done with it.
Okay.
Yeah, Netflix I don't think likes me, but that's okay.
Oh, so you'll
like watch something and then like just send it right back.
So you're a channel flipper.
Yes.
Is there a word for that on Netflix?
I don't know.
I don't know. What's the opposite of binge watching?
Yeah.
All right, should we move on to our topic for the day?
Sure. We reviewed an app, you guys, Planet Pilkey.
So exciting.
It's an app based on the books of Dave Pilkey, who's written Captain Underpants, and it's produced by Scholastic Inc., that ubiquitous catalog that your kids get once a month once they go to school. So the app lets you wander through neighborhoods and encounter characters from Pilkey's books. You can play games, do jobs. It tries to keep you coming back to the app by assigning daily quests. You can also design your own comic strip using prefabricated drawings from the Dogman books. It also includes excerpts from Pilkey's books and quizzes about Pilkey's books. And if you've read Dave Pilkey's books like Captain Underpants or Super Diaper Baby or Dogman, you can imagine the style. It's like very rudimentary drawings, a lot of potty humor.
So why did we pick it? Were your kids particularly interested in it? In it? Wow, I can talk. Were your kids particularly interested in it?
Yes. So they love the Captain Underpants movie. We've seen that a bunch of times. Any opportunity they have for a movie night, that's what they'll pick. And we got the Planet Pilkey app because I think it's advertised in the back of one of the books that we have. Mm-hmm. And my 5-year-old Nate just loves the app. So.
And I guess we should specify that it's a free app, right? So if you're interested.
Right.
Yeah. Can I go back to something you said earlier about the Scholastic book orders? Yeah. I love the book orders. I give my kids markers, one for each kid, like a color for each kid, and they circle all the books they like. And then I go to the library page and I put them on hold. And so we get lots and lots of books, and it doesn't cost me anything, and it's delightful. Although I once had like 57 holds, and I was a little embarrassed by that. But the librarians know me really well.
I love that they still get the experience of circling things in a catalog. Like, that's not something that's gone away in today's technological age.
Yeah, mine love doing that too.
I have zero experience with kids' apps. Like, I only know the educational ones so far. Like, we're just dipping our toes into them. So I have, like, zero experience of game-related kids' apps. So this is really interesting pick for me, and I'm excited to talk about it. Do you guys as kids play with a lot of apps?
You go ahead.
Oh, my boys love apps. So Ben saved up his money and bought an iPod. So so we do lots of apps in our house.
Yeah, my kids like any kind of game app. I feel like the kids ones, they blow through right away, and then they just sit on the iPad taking up memory, and what they really go back to is like Super Mario Run. Again and again.
Yeah.
And that's just basically a video game.
Yep.
On the iPad.
Well, you guys are definitely going to have to take the lead on this one because, like I said, I have no idea what I'm talking about. Do you guys want to talk first about the Dave Pilkey books? Because, again, I don't have any experience with them. And every time I walked past the library in the app where they had excerpts from the books, I'm like, I should probably go in there and read some. But I never did. So talk to me about the Dave Pilkey books.
Do you have a favorite of his series?
Oh, they're not my I like Captain Underpants. It's the only one I've read, and I just liked it because it was something that appealed to non-readers. So I don't actually, but yeah, my kids had to earn Dave Pilkey. Like, they had to be 7 before we allowed them to read it, because my husband he does bedtime, and he refused to read the stories out loud. So, and then when they were 7, they were deemed old enough to read them by themselves. So,
Deborah, how about you?
I actually love Dave Pilkey books, and I have read the Dogman books to my kids, and I will laugh out loud along with them. Maybe my sense of humor is a little juvenile. But I have no problem. And I think as I've read them, I've discovered that I think the title is really provocative. of the Captain Underpants books and the Super Diaper Baby books, but then there's really not that much potty humor in the books. And like the drawings in Dogman, I mean, I can draw as well as the drawings in Dogman, and I have no drawing skills. So that always makes me laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And I have kind of a soft spot for Dave Pilkey. I listened to a podcast called The Yarn, which is put out by School Library Journal, and they interviewed him. And I had no idea he was he's dyslexic. He really struggled as a reader as a kid, and he got sent out into the hallway all the time when he was a kid until like 8th grade, when an English teacher walked by and noticed that he was like doodling and writing the whole time, and encouraged him to keep it up. And he won a contest, like I think he was still in high school, and got his first book published that way. And he is all about how choice in reading is important, and there needs to be something for everybody, and reading levels shouldn't matter and content shouldn't matter. Like, it just matters that kids read, and I love that.
Yeah.
This is turning into a book podcast, not a screen time podcast.
But I did just want to know a little background on the books because, like I said, I have no idea. So just the basics of the app, like Deborah said when she introduced it, you're walking through this neighborhood. I guess I should also preface this by saying that I don't play video games either. So even as an adult, like I don't do like adult apps, but it seems to me that there are like different types of video games, and there are some that are like structured where you have quests and such, and some where like the point is just to wander around and like see how beautiful it is. Does that sound like any sort of, does that correspond to reality or no?
I don't know.
You mean like Zelda versus Mario? Like,
okay, we're all old. Okay, so it seemed like this app took a stab at combining those two things, where you can just kind of wander around aimlessly. The thing that I compared it to,
tapping on like the toilets that have been sprayed with the Alive spray.
I think I had to catch pigeons in one of mine.
Yeah, I did some pigeon catching myself. So you did a lot of just walking around, and then you also had more structured things to do. So it seems like it was made to appeal to people who liked either of those things. And I guess I would put myself in the enjoy structure camp. Surprise, surprise. So did you guys find yourself doing more wandering around, or were you always looking for things to do?
My attention span wasn't very long, so I would wander, do something. Yeah, I didn't last very long. I think I don't like the wandering. I think I'm more of an action type.
Yeah.
Yeah, and on the games, it was so slow. Like most video games are too fast for me, like Fruit Ninja. Like, Jesus, stop. I can't keep up. But this was really slow moving. I did like the only thing I really enjoyed was the comics, where you could make your own comics.
Yeah, that reminded me a lot of like the old school computer games that I used to play as a kid. That really weren't even games. They were probably just like storybook makers or whatever.
And as for the book excerpts, I did take a quiz on one of the Dogman books. I got 5 out of 5.
Woohoo!
Did you earn some moolah?
I didn't want Nate to know that I was playing. Not that bad. So I X'd out of it, I think, before I could claim the moolah.
That would have been so fun for Nate to go in and be like, suddenly I have all this moolah. Because that was the goal, listeners. That was the goal of the app, is to earn money, which they call moolah. So every time you complete a quest by getting all the garbage cans that are alive, or getting all the pigeons or whatever, you get some money. Or there was just random money lying around too. And so the ultimate point was that you would buy things with that money. It was kind of Sims-like in that way.
I never played Sims.
No.
Did you?
Wow, that was one of the few games that I played. Because it was like the world's most boring video game. Like, you just lived someone's life. Stuff.
It made me think of the Mii's for the Nintendo, like Wii, like how you can build your own little avatars.
Oh.
That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
what did you think just of the basics of the gameplay? Because I, as previously mentioned, am an old person who doesn't play apps. So I found the navigation to be really frustrating. Like you were supposed to tap and like your avatar would go to that side of the screen, and once you tapped on the side, it would move on to the next frame, I guess. And I found it to be really clumsy. Like I did a lot of essentially just like mashing the screen, being like, move there, please. What?
Yeah, I got stuck in a corner once. It was kind of sad. I couldn't get out. And some like other avatar was coming up to me, and I had stranger danger and just exited out. But I'm sure they were friendly.
Yeah, I did not find it to be intuitive at all, which I blame on myself because I don't play any kind of apps or
Right.
video games. So
Maybe it was
Didn't-
just us because we're old.
So both of my boys really took to it and would ask to play it like unprompted. So they really took to it. And I don't know if this is an official segment part, but I went online and looked up a review, and one of the reviews is like, if you don't like it, it's because there's something wrong with you. I was
Aw.
like, what?
Oh,
That's a terrible review. I'm like, I'm too old. That's what's wrong with me. But
You heard it
was
here
very
first,
sad.
guys. There's something wrong with all of us.
I thought, speaking of the moolah and capitalist,
Indoctrination.
yeah, do you think that this app is just meant to sell Dave Pilkey books?
Yes.
I think it was just created to promote his books. I don't think there was a lot of thought probably put into the games
Mm-hmm.
and content and navigation.
It's a Scholastic site. So I'm
Mhm.
sure the publisher did it to bring people in to the universe.
And all the billboards in the town have ads for Dogman. And
Yeah.
it kind of brings a downer note to your heartwarming story about how we should all love Dave Pilkey, because it just seems kind of crass to be like, oh, I built this useless app so kids would buy my books.
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime the app is free, you are the content that is getting sold. Like you're agreeing, I mean, it's like you're agreeing to see ads for cars when you watch a YouTube video,
Mm-hmm.
I guess,
That's
is the
true.
way I look at it.
Yeah.
We've given it all away.
It's sad that we're just so defeatist about it now. Fine. Have all my personal data. I don't care. I assume there's some spark of human soul that's left to me alone, but I'm not quite sure. Let's get down to brass tacks here. Did you guys have fun playing this app?
No,
No,
No.
my kids did.
no.
Not even making comics?
I had fun exploring that feature, but it's not something that I ever need to do again.
Right. Did you make them say naughty things?
No.
Oh,
No.
man,
Can
missed
you? Can
opportunity.
you create your own text?
Yeah.
Ooh, maybe I didn't get that
Oh.
far.
Yeah. Well, the whole interface was very clunky, so I'm not surprised that you didn't get that far. I mean, I never went to the library. So what games did you play, or jobs did you do, or quests did you complete?
I did the Catching Petey, I think it was called, where you go through a maze and swipe,
Ooh.
and you have to get like jewels or something. I thought it was quite fun.
I just
I
did
d-
tic-tac-toe and rock, paper, scissors.
I think there's more to this app than I realized. I didn't see any of those things.
Well, you know what?
Maybe I-
Probably because you didn't download it. There's like a whole tutorial at the beginning that like kind of laid out where everything was. But it was already on your phone and you were trying to be a shadow player, so
I did watch the tutorial like at the end
Oh, okay.
of exploration, which is explains a lot about what's wrong with my life.
So did you just walk around tapping trash cans?
For a while, and then I discovered the world, like that there were places once you clicked on the globe or the world, and then I watched the tutorial.
Do you have you ever stopped and asked for directions when you're driving?
Yes, all the time.
Not in a long time.
Oh.
I'm just wondering if those two things correspond. Do you read the instructions when you get IKEA furniture?
Well, you can't read them because there's no words.
Sorry, do you use them?
Katie, one thing we learned in library school is that there's a lot of different learning styles. And one learning style is a person does not like to be told what to do. They learn through exploration.
Because you're independent. You want to do it your own way.
I think I just am not a video game person.
That's okay.
And I don't think it's our age exactly. I think
Oh, no, because there are tons of people our age who are very much video game people.
yeah, lots. Yeah.
I don't have any statistics in front of me, but wouldn't you think that the majority of like the video game industry is making its money off of people our age?
Yes, because they have the money.
Mhm.
A 6-year-old can't buy a $60 game on a regular basis.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Isn't the most coveted market like the 18 to 34-year-old demographic? Not, and I am older than that, but not by a lot.
The one other technical thing that really bothered me is when I did choose to like do a quest or do a job, it doesn't allow you to do other things in the world while you're doing that job. So at one point I took a job delivering newspapers, and I had to deliver 5 newspapers to 5 specific people. And I just had to wander around until I found those 5 people. And I never really had a very good grasp of what the map looked like in my head. So it took a really long time, and it was really quite dull.
My only other complaint was about the sign-up process. I didn't like that you had to give like a real name and a real age, and that made me. I mean, so I signed myself up. But I don't know if I would have felt comfortable putting my children's information out there like that. So I didn't really like that feature that you had to have real info.
Does the fact that
gave you a
that the
goofy
app was put out by like a reputable publishing house allay any of those fears? Like, it's not like you were just giving that information to, I don't know, Russian bots. You were giving it to Scholastic, who will supposedly use it probably to sell books to your kids, but like, at least you kind of know what you're getting into in the bargain.
Honestly, no. I just really don't like having their info out if I don't. I mean, like, yeah.
Yeah, same. You know, I like websites where you can buy something and then sign out as guest,
Yes.
and then you don't have to create an account. I really preferred that. And they have your credit card information and your address and like like they have everything about you, but you don't need a password. Which I think is what I really like about it.
Okay, should we move on to our to the questions we ask every week, to the extent that we can apply them to this app?
Yeah, and since we have one of our most favorite, best listeners of our podcast here, what do you think of that section? Do you like it?
The HBO reboots?
Yeah.
You make me realize how very out of touch I am with modern celebrities and TV shows, but it's good. Keeps me on my toes.
Well, that's a good compliment.
Yeah.
I feel so with it now. See, it doesn't matter that you don't know anyone from SNL.
Yeah.
I didn't know the second person you said from SNL either, so.
Well, apparently nobody does.
Okay, so this is my plug for John Mulaney because I have loved him for a long time. I'm kind of a comedy nerd. But he does this great television show on Netflix, a cartoon for grown-ups only, called Big Mouth. And it's all about the adolescent experience. I think we might have talked about it on the podcast before.
You you recommended it.
Yeah, so it's him and Nick Kroll, and it is very funny. So that is, I think, currently probably John Mulaney's like most popular credit.
Okay. Well, I don't think any of us play games on our phones or iPads enough to make a good comparison to adult game apps. Like I've watched someone play Candy Crush.
Oh my gosh, that sounds horrible.
What I have it to compare to. So I don't even feel I feel unable to compare it to anything except like Oregon Trail and Tetris, which are the only video games that I've ever like gotten into in my life.
I think in some ways that's apt because this is such a sort of low tech app experience because it's made for kids and because it's made on the fly as just a marketing tool, that it does have more in common with those older games that were lower tech or like new games that are just very mind-numbing and low-tech than it does with like your very complicated world-building video games and apps.
So I thought it was a lot. I didn't look at it as an app. I looked at it how they combined all of Pilkey's universes into one, like under one umbrella, and it made me think of what DC and Marvel are doing with all their comic book franchises and how they're combining all the franchises to make one big world. But I thought whereas DC and Marvel are able to combine all the superheroes to get something like the Justice League, and they can get bigger bad guys and they can get more stakes and world troubles, I thought combining all the Pilkey universes was just an easy way to do one advertisement for all the products. So that was my comparison.
That's a good one.
And it didn't seem like they really interacted very much. I guess now I want to see the Super Diaper Baby Captain Underpants crossover event.
Yeah.
We will be first in line to get tickets to that, I'm sure.
So is there an adult author's, along those same lines, is there an adult author's body of work that you'd like to wander through in an app? Presumably one that was more geared towards adults?
I thought maybe the Beat Poets.
All right, elaborate.
Because I love reading about that, like, scroungy, addled existence, but I don't want to get hooked on junk to have to experience it. If there's an app where you can, like, live that William S. Burroughs life for a little bit, I would do it. I'd even pay $3.99 to download it.
Wow.
Are you listening, app developers? Amy, how about you?
Well, so I went author like Charlene Harris or James Patterson, some of those authors that have done a really good job of like branding themselves and like cross products. And I mean, some of those authors are really good at pushing out their brand. And that's what this made me think of, like on a juvenile level.
Mm-hmm.
So
what is Charlene Harris is the Sookie Stackhouse woman, right?
yes, True Blood.
Okay,
I have
so
a soft spot.
Does she have other like long running series then?
She has like a lot of long running series, but none of them are quite as famous. Although I guess Candace Cameron Bergen, the lady from Full House, she's like a detective, Aurora Teagarden. And so I think Lifetime or one of those TV shows have started doing movies. So that's the only other one I think has been syndicated or bought movie rights.
I listened to a ton of the True Blood books on audiobook just because I like to have something in my ears all the time. That's why I listen to so many podcasts. So do you think her other series would be good in a similar way?
I haven't read any of the other series, but one of them is like a woman who like converses with the dead, and that didn't really appeal to me. I thought about looking into the Aurora Teagarden because I watched one of the movies and it was super cute. Like I was like, I paid the $3.99 on Amazon and watched it, and I was pleased that my money was well spent. And that doesn't happen very often. I did not channel surf. I watched the whole thing. So I don't. If you like the supernatural and the more edginess, I think is more with True Blood. I think the other ones are much tamer, like much more like your grandma or mom would read them.
So the author I thought of, and please don't judge me, you guys, but have you guys read the Outlander series of books?
No.
Okay, so they're these wildly popular historical fiction time travel romance novels, and she's written 8 maybe so far, and the bulk of the books take place in the 18th century, and I find myself going back to them a lot, not for anything having to do with like the romance or really the plot, but as a parent, I find it absurdly comforting to read like the little throwaway asides about how they're raising their children. Because it gives you some perspective. Like in the 18th century, they just had stuff to get done, so they just tied their kid to the fence post while they were working so they didn't toddle away. And I find myself thinking of that all the time. Like, oh, Jay, you could be tied to a fence post. I think I'm doing okay. So
Right.
I would totally go in for an app that like let me be like a freewheeling parent in the 1700s. But the books are a lot of fun, as is the series on Stars if you ever get around to it.
But that's like almost as big as Game of Thrones. I think it's got a really loyal following.
Yeah, I've read about it. I haven't watched it. Always in Entertainment Weekly.
Yes, because there are some very attractive people in the television show. So, was it better when we were kids? We always ask ourselves this question. But it doesn't sound. I mean, did you guys play a lot of computer games when you were growing up?
No,
No.
just the ones I mentioned. Although, if there had been like a Babysitter's Club app or computer game when I was a kid, I would have played the hell out of that because I was like hungry for anything extra of the Babysitter's Club.
I don't know that it was better when we were kids. I didn't feel like I was being straight up advertised to as much.
It wasn't as the advertising wasn't as targeted for sure.
But actually, our generation was the first generation that was actively targeted to. That's why, like, Rainbow Bright was originally a Hallmark card, and they brought the toys to advertise to kids.
That's
And
true.
same with like He-Man, and I mean, a lot of those were
Care Bears.
Yeah,
that's true.
We were like the first generation to be actively targeted, and then the ads would be specifically targeted to us during the shows, which is why it's now illegal to advertise for a toy that's being shown in a TV show.
It is?
Because it was too much for small. I thought so. I thought it was against the rules. Like if you were watching He-Man, you couldn't advertise He-Man toys because apparently it was too much for small brains.
Wow.
I thought, but I could be wrong. But that's what I thought.
I feel like there's no possible way that they don't advertise for Paw Patrol products during Paw Patrol. Have I just like
maybe.
supplied that in my brain? Wow.
I don't think they do though. There's tons of Paw Patrol merchandise, but I don't think they show the ads for it on.
I guess they're like, we don't need ads. Our show is just like one constant ad.
Or maybe it's food advertising. Something's illegal to do during children's programming, though.
No,
So-
I really believe that you're right. I believe that my brain has just supplied those advertisements. Well, maybe the thing is, when we were kids, it was still working to advertise during TV shows. And they didn't really need to do it or think about transferring it to the computer or a video game console to the extent that they do now.
Mm-hmm.
Because really, who watches ads anymore?
Well, and I'm sure there's other kids like mine who don't really watch TV. Like, we don't have cable, which is part of it. And they're not that interested. If they get screen time, they'd much rather be playing a video game or an app or
Right.
not watching a cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
Would you guys ever play this app alone voluntarily?
No.
No.
Yeah, no, I gotta
No.
go with you. I would rather play Candy Crush.
Is Candy Crush fun?
I mean, it's the exact same concept as like a Tetris or a
Okay.
Snood. Was Snood a big thing when you were in college?
No. Oh, I didn't even have a computer in college, you guys. I did not have a computer.
I bought my first one freshman year.
Yeah, I had one by the time I was like a junior in college.
But they had nice computer labs back
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
So none of us would ever play Planet Pilkey alone voluntarily. Sorry to Dave Pilkey. Should we do 10 seconds on whether or not this is good for our kids?
Sure. I think there's nothing wrong with it. I'm fine if Nate wants to do the daily tasks.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't have any issue with the kids doing that for their screen time. So
Mhm.
it's fine.
Yeah, I can't really contribute to this because Jay is too young to like even understand how that works. We're still working on like dragging puzzle pieces into the puzzle. But I don't know that I would encourage him to play it, but at a certain point I don't know that I'll have any choice.
I guess I would choose my veto power over something I actually objected to for violence or inappropriate language or something along those lines. So something like this that isn't necessarily it's not a positive, but it's not a negative. I just kind of let it slide because save my nose for the important things.
All right, I think I know where this is heading, but should we do ratings?
2?
Amy?
So since I'm not the target audience, I'm going 4 because my kids really liked it.
Yeah,
Oh.
but think about yourself. Don't think about your kids. This is about you.
Oh, then a 1. I really did
Yeah,
not enjoy
that's what
it.
we're looking for.
Yeah.
I really did not enjoy it.
I'm going for a 1 too. Yeah, we don't think about our kids when we do ratings. It's just about us. Well, thanks for listening to this episode of It's My Screen Time 2, and a special thanks to our special guest, Amy, for being here. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to continue the conversation, you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/myscreentime2. That's where you'll find out what we're covering in our next episode when I can be bothered to post it, which I'm sorry, I just sometimes forget. Tweet us with show or movie suggestions or general comments at myscreentime2. You can also email us at myscreentime2@gmail.com. Our theme music was composed and performed by Deborah and her adorable children, and our podcast is produced by me, Katie. Tune in next time for more real talk about the movies and TV beloved by kids and tolerated by parents. Bye!
Screen time too.
Okay, what's your deepest, darkest secret? No, really, I'm not recording anymore.